My name is Sheldon. I have a brother. His name is Stephen. We grew up together. We played together, worked together, and shared everything. But now, everything is different. Now we are not brothers. We are enemies. Our father died last year. He was old, and his time had come. But before he died, he gave us something. He gave us his house, his land, and his money. I thought that we would share it. I thought we would stay together. But I was wrong. The day after our father's funeral, we went to the lawyer's office. The lawyer opened the papers. He told us that our father wanted everything to be shared between us. But Stephen did not want to share. He wanted everything for himself. I sat there, shocked. Stephen looked at me with cold eyes. I deserve more, he said. I could not believe it. My own brother was telling me this. He was saying he deserved more than me. I worked hard all my life. I helped our father with everything. I never asked for more. But Stephen, he never worked hard. He never helped our father. He only thought about himself. He wanted the house, the land, and the money. He wanted it all, and he did not care about me. I looked at him. He was my brother, but in that moment, he seemed like a stranger, a man who cared about nothing but money. I wanted to speak, but I could not. My heart was broken. I could not believe my own brother would do this. Stephen didn't stop there. He kept talking. His voice was loud and angry. I need this money, he said. I deserve it. I'm the older brother. I should have everything. I felt a rush of anger in me. How could he say that? How could he think he deserved everything? Just because he was older. I worked hard for this. I worked hard every day, and now he was taking it all from me. Stephen, this is not fair, I said. We promised to share everything. This is our father's wish. We can't break that promise. But Stephen did not care. He didn't listen to me. You don't understand, he said. You never understand. I need this money to make my life better. I need it more than you. I felt tears in my eyes. My brother, the person I loved most in the world, was telling me that I wasn't important, that I didn't matter. He left the lawyer's office that day with all of our father's things. He took everything, and I was left nothing but my broken heart. I couldn't believe it. How could my brother do this? How could he take everything and leave me with nothing? We were family. We were supposed to take care of each other, but Stephen didn't care about family. He only cared about himself. That night, I sat alone in our father's old house. I looked around at all the memories. Our father's chair, his books, his photographs. They were all gone now. Stephen took them, and I was alone. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do, but I knew I had to leave. I couldn't stay in this house anymore. Not with Stephen, not with all the pain he caused. I packed my things. I walked out of the door, but as I left, I looked back. I looked back at the house where we grew up. I looked back at my brother, and for the first time, I felt that we were not family anymore. Days passed, but my heart did not heal. I couldn't stop thinking about Stephen, about what he had done. I still remembered his angry face, his words cutting through me like a knife. He took everything, and I was left with nothing. I tried to move on. I tried to start fresh, but it was hard. Every time I saw something that reminded me of our father, I remembered Stephen. The pain in my heart would come back. I decided to visit the lawyer. Maybe there was still something I could do. Maybe there was a way to make things right. When I arrived at the office, the lawyer looked at me with sad eyes. "I'm sorry, Sheldon," he said, "but there's nothing I can do. Stephen has all the rights now. Your father made it clear in his will. The words hit me hard. But it's not fair, I said, my voice shaking. Stephen doesn't care about our father's wishes. He just wants the money. He doesn't care about family. The lawyer didn't say anything. He just looked at me and nodded. I left the office feeling lost. I walked through the streets feeling like there was no way out. My brother had taken everything, and now he was gone. I went back to the house one last time. I stood outside, looking at the place where I had grown up. It didn't feel like home anymore. It didn't feel like family anymore. I knocked on the door. I knew Stephen would not answer. I knew he didn't want to talk to me. But I knocked anyway, and to my surprise, he opened the door. His face was different now. He looked tired. He looked sad. Stephen, I said quietly, we need to talk. He didn't say anything at first. He just looked at me. But then he stepped aside and let me in. We sat in silence for a long time. Neither of us knew what to say. Finally, Stephen spoke. I'm sorry, Sheldon, he said. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was angry. I was scared. I thought if I had everything, I would be happy. But I wasn't happy. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I could forgive him. We sat in silence for a while longer, but for the first time in weeks, I felt a little peace. Maybe things wouldn't be perfect. Maybe we couldn't fix everything, but at least we were talking again. Maybe, just maybe, we could start to heal. The days after our conversation were quiet. It wasn't easy, and we didn't speak much, but something had changed between us. There was no anger, no hate. It was as if the wall between us had begun to fall, piece by piece. Stephen stayed in the house. He didn't ask for more money, and he didn't bring up the past. I could tell he was struggling with guilt, and I understood. I was struggling too. One afternoon, I came home and found him sitting at the kitchen table. He was looking at an old photograph. It was of us when we were children. I didn't say anything at first. I just stood there watching him. Finally, he looked up at me. I miss him, Sheldon, he said softly. I miss Dad. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to shout, to remind him of what he had done, but another part of me felt sadness too. We both missed our father. We both felt the empty space he had left behind. I miss him too, I said quietly. I don't know why you did what you did, Stephen, but I know you're hurting. Stephen's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what happened to me. I just wanted to feel important. I thought the money would make me feel that way. But now it feels empty. I can't fix what I've done. For a moment, we just sat there, not speaking. The weight of the past was heavy, but at that moment, I realized something. Maybe we couldn't fix everything, but we could try to rebuild. I don't know if I can forgive you yet, I said slowly, but I want to try. I don't want to live with this pain anymore. Stephen nodded. I understand. I don't expect forgiveness right away, but I'm here, Stephen. I'm trying. That night, I went to bed feeling strange. It wasn't happy feeling, but it wasn't a sad one either. It was the feeling of something starting to change, something starting to heal. The next day, Stephen came to me. Sheldon, I want to make things right, he said. I know I can't fix everything, but I can start by giving back what I took. It wasn't much, but it was a start. He handed me a small envelope with a note inside. I'm sorry, the note said. This is for Dad. It wasn't the end of our story, but it was the beginning of something new. Maybe we would never be the same as we were before. Maybe we couldn't go back to the way things were, but we could move forward together. The days that followed were different. Stephen and I didn't talk about the past anymore. But there was a change in the air. It was as if we were both waiting for something, waiting for the healing to begin. I could see that Stephen was trying. He began to help around the house more. He fixed things that had been broken for years, and he even started to spend more time with the family. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than before. One evening, we sat together in the living room. The TV was on, but neither of us were really watching. It was just the two of us, sitting in silence. Finally, Stephen spoke. "Sheldon, I know it won't be easy. I know I've hurt you, but I want to be a better brother. I want to be someone you can trust again." I looked at him. I could see the sincerity in his eyes. For the first time in a long time, I believed him. "I don't know if I can trust you yet," I said softly, "but I'm willing to try." Stephen smiled, and I could see a small light in his eyes. It was a small step, but it was something. The following weeks were full of small changes. We didn't have big fights anymore. We didn't argue over the money or the past. We just started to live our lives, day by day, trying to move forward. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments when the weight of what had happened hung over us, but we were both learning to live with it. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hope. One day, we went for a walk together. It was a quiet afternoon, and the weather was perfect. As we walked, we talked about the future, about the things we wanted to do, and the things we hoped for. It wasn't a deep conversation, but it was one of the most honest conversations we had ever had. "I think we'll be okay, Sheldon," Stephen said as we walked. "I think we'll find a way to make things right." "I hope so," I replied, "but it'll take time." And as we continued to walk, I realized that maybe, just maybe, we would find a way to rebuild not just the things we had lost, but our relationship too. It wasn't going to be easy, but it was a start, and that was all I needed. It had been a few months since that walk. Things were different now. Stephen and I still didn't always agree, but the anger that once filled our conversations was gone. We were learning how to communicate, to understand each other. One afternoon, as we sat together, I looked at him. He was no longer the man I once fought with. He was different, and so was I. The hurt from the past was still there, but it didn't control us anymore. "I know I made a lot of mistakes, Sheldon," Stephen said one evening, "but I'm trying. I really am." "I know," I said quietly, "and I'm trying too." The weight of the past seemed a little lighter now. We spent more time together, not as enemies, but as brothers, learning to build something new. There were still times when the past felt too heavy, but those times were becoming fewer. One day, Stephen invited me to a small celebration. It wasn't a big event, just a simple gathering with close friends and family, but it was important to him, and I could tell it meant a lot. As I stood there, looking around at the people who cared for us, I realized how far we had come. We had survived the worst of times, and we were still standing. "I'm proud of us," I said to Stephen that evening. He smiled. "Me too, Sheldon, me too." And for the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we could start fresh, not forget the past, but learn from it, move forward, one step at a time. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't easy, but it was real, and that was enough. We weren't the same brothers we had been before, but in a way, we were better. We had learned from our mistakes, and we had found a way to rebuild. And as I looked at Stephen, I knew that our bond, though scarred, was still strong. We had made it through the hardest part, and maybe, just maybe, we could both find peace. This was the beginning of something new. Thanks for watching and listening to my story. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe the channel Storytime with Anita to keep up with my upcoming videos of stories.